Andy Sachs, a young journalist, lands an interview at Runway magazine. She's not familiar with the fashion world but is eager to learn. Emily, the assistant to the editor-in-chief, Miranda Priestly, is skeptical of Andy's abilities. Miranda, a demanding and renowned editor, arrives at the office. Emily tries to prepare Andy for the meeting, but Andy's lack of fashion sense is apparent. Despite this, Andy is honest and confident during the interview. Miranda, unimpressed, questions Andy's qualifications and sense of style. Andy explains her background in journalism and her willingness to learn. Miranda, still unconvinced, ends the interview abruptly. As Andy leaves, she makes a final statement, showcasing her determination and intelligence. Andy leaves the office, feeling defeated, but the Emily Miranda assistant calls her and confirms her job. She meets her friends at a restaurant, and they tease her about working at a fashion magazine. Andy is tasked with getting coffee and answering phones. Emily, her coworker, warns her that Miranda is very demanding and that she must always answer the phone. Andy is overwhelmed but determined to learn and succeed in her new role. Andy meets other colleagues, including Nigel, who brings her shoes to wear, and Jocelyn, who seems stressed. Andy enters Miranda's office, where she's told to get skirts from Calvin Klein and perform other tasks. Andy is stressed out but tries to keep up. Emily helps Andy with her tasks and explains the importance of the run-through, where editors bring in options for a shoot and Miranda chooses everything. Andy observes the chaos in the office and feels out of place. At lunch, Andy eats corn chowder, which surprises Nigel, who teases her about her food choice. Andy defends herself, saying she won't change who she is for the job. Nigel receives a call from Miranda, and they rush back to the office, discarding their lunch. Andy meets Irv Ravitz, the chairman of Elias Clark, who congratulates her on her new role. Meanwhile, Miranda critiques a fashion spread, and Andy accidentally laughs at the similarity between two belts, earning Miranda's disdain. Miranda explains to Andy how the fashion industry influences people's choices, using the example of a cerulean sweater. Andy is sad and seeks comfort from her boyfriend, Nate. As the days go by, Andy becomes more confident in her role, but Miranda's demands continue to push her to her limits. Andy's father expresses concern about her job, but Andy assures him that it's an opportunity for her to learn and grow. Andy's father, Richard, is visiting from out of town, but Andy has to deal with a crisis at work. Miranda wants Andy to arrange a private jet to take her from Miami to New York, despite bad weather. Andy tries her best but can't find a jet. Miranda is furious and yells at Andy. The next day, Andy meets with Miranda, who is still angry. Miranda says she hired Andy because she thought she was different from other girls, but now she's disappointed. Andy starts to cry and runs out of the office. Andy talks to her coworker Nigel, who tells her to stop whining and take her job seriously. Nigel explains that working at Runway is a privilege and that Andy should be grateful. He shares his own story of how Runway inspired him when he was growing up. Nigel's words make Andy realize she needs to take her job more seriously and appreciate the opportunities she has. Nigel, Andy's coworker, helps her improve her appearance by giving her fashionable clothes and accessories from the magazine's closet. Andy transforms from a simple, unfashionable girl to a stylish and sophisticated woman. As Andy walks into the office, her new look impresses everyone, including Emily, who had previously mocked her. Andy's phone rings, and she answers it professionally, showing off her new confidence. Later, Andy meets up with her friends and boyfriend Nate at a bar. She shows off the expensive gifts she received from celebrities, including a $750 phone and a $1,900 purse. Her friends are impressed, but Nate teases her about being too caught up in the fashion world. When Miranda calls Andy's phone, her friends play a prank on her, but Andy becomes upset and grabs the phone to answer Miranda's demands. She leaves the bar to attend to Miranda's needs, showing how much her priorities have changed since working at Runway. Andy then visits James Holt's loft to pick up something for Miranda. She's intimidated by the fashionable people at the party. Andy meets James Holt, a famous designer, at a party. He gives her a confidential sketch of a dress for Miranda Priestly. Andy is impressed by the party and meets Christian Thompson, a charming writer who warns her about working for Miranda. The next day, Andy takes the sketch to Miranda, who decides to move up a meeting with James Holt to that day. Andy asks about the purpose of the meeting, and Nigel explains that Miranda likes to review designers' collections before they are shown to the public. Miranda and Andy visit James Holt's loft for a fashion preview. James is nervous and tries to impress Miranda with his designs. However, Miranda's reactions are hard to read, and she doesn't seem impressed. After the preview, Miranda's team discusses the designs, and Andy realizes the importance of Miranda's opinion in the fashion world. Miranda assigns Andy tasks, including delivering the book to her home, which contains the latest fashion trends. Andy follows Emily's instructions to deliver the book in Miranda's dry cleaning to her townhouse. She must be careful and invisible during the delivery. Andy enters the townhouse, feeling nervous and out of place. Andy delivers the book to Miranda's townhouse, but gets confused about which table to leave it on. Miranda's twin daughters act like they are helping her, and give her the wrong suggestion. Andy accidentally makes eye contact with Miranda and her husband, which makes Miranda unhappy. The next day, Andy faces Emily's wrath for going upstairs in the townhouse. Miranda asks Andy to get the unpublished Harry Potter manuscript for her daughters, which is impossible. Andy tries to find a solution, knowing she'll be fired if she fails. Andy gets the steak Miranda ordered, but Miranda doesn't want it since she already had lunch. Andy is relieved but still stressed about getting the Harry Potter manuscript. She calls Christian Thompson, a writer she met earlier, for help. Christian is hesitant but agrees to assist Andy. She visits a photo shoot at the zoo, where models are wearing animal masks. Nigel, the art director, gives her instructions and warns her to adjust her attitude. Andy attends a charity gala with Miranda and Emily. Andy is nervous but looks great in her gown. At the event, Andy helps Miranda greet guests and remembers important details about them, impressing Miranda. Meanwhile, Emily is struggling with her health and her role at the event. Andy steps in to help, using her knowledge to introduce Miranda to important people. Christian, a writer who helped her earlier. He flirts with her, but she has to leave to meet her boyfriend, Nate, on his birthday. However, she's late, and Nate is upset. Later, Andy receives a summons from Miranda, who wants to see her. Andy is nervous, wondering what she's done wrong. Miranda Priestly, Andy's boss, takes her to Paris for Fashion Week. Andy is excited but also sad because her relationship with Nate is suffering. Emily had been eagerly anticipating a trip to Paris for months, but she is now down with the flu. Miranda, her boss, makes it clear to Andrea that if she turns down the opportunity to go to Paris in Emily's place, it could negatively impact her future career. Before Andrea gets the chance to tell Emily that she won't be going to Paris with Miranda, Emily is unfortunately hit by a car, making Andrea's decision irrelevant. Later on, at a gallery exhibit featuring her friend Lily's photography, Andrea runs into Christian again. He openly flirts with her, which shocks and upsets Lily, who witnesses the interaction. Lily calls Andrea out for her behavior before walking away in frustration. Soon after, Andrea bumps into her boyfriend, Nate. When Andrea tells Nate that she is going to Paris, he becomes upset. He accuses her of becoming the type of person they used to criticize and points out that their relationship has been neglected. As a result, they break up in the middle of the street the night before Andrea is set to leave for Paris. In Paris, Nigel excitedly shares some big news with Andrea. He tells her that he has been offered a job as the creative director for James Holt, a rising star in the fashion world, thanks to a recommendation from Miranda. This new position means that Nigel will finally have the chance to take control of his own life and career, something he has been dreaming about for a long time. During her time in Paris, Andrea also gives into Christian's advances, and they become closer. She sees a different side of Miranda when her boss shows a rare moment of vulnerability. Miranda is deeply concerned about how her impending divorce will affect her twin daughters, which is the first time Andrea witnesses her boss letting her guard down. However, the next morning, Andrea learns about a secret plan to replace Miranda as the editor of Runway magazine with Jacqueline Fallet, who is the editor of the magazine's French edition. Despite everything she has gone through under Miranda's demanding leadership, Andrea feels a sense of loyalty and tries to warn her boss about the plot. But every time Andrea attempts to alert Miranda, she is met with what seems like rejection, as Miranda coldly dismisses her efforts to help. Later that day, At a luncheon, Miranda shocks everyone by announcing that it will be Jacqueline, not Nigel, who will be leaving Runway to work with James Holt. Andrea is stunned by this sudden change. Later, while being driven to a fashion show with Miranda, Andrea is still in disbelief. Miranda then explains to Andrea that she appreciated the warning about the plan to replace her, but she was already aware of it. To save her own job, Miranda made the difficult decision to sacrifice Nigel's promotion. She even expresses satisfaction with Andrea's loyalty and tells her that she sees some of herself in Andrea. Andrea, however, is horrified by this revelation. She tells Miranda that she could never betray someone the way Miranda betrayed Nigel, especially since Nigel had been a mentor to her. But Miranda responds by pointing out that Andrea already made a similar choice when she agreed to go to Paris, effectively stepping over Emily. Miranda coldly adds that if Andrea wants to succeed in her career, she must be willing to make such ruthless decisions. Feeling disgusted and conflicted, Andrea decides she has had enough. When the limo makes its next stop, instead of going into the show with Miranda, she steps out into the street. As she walks away, Andrea ignores yet another call from Miranda, and in a final act of defiance, she throws her cell phone into a nearby fountain, symbolizing her decision to leave Miranda, Runway, and the fashion world behind. Back in New York, Andrea meets Nate for breakfast. Nate shares that he has accepted a job offer to work as a sous chef at a popular restaurant in Boston and will be moving there soon. Andrea feels a bit disappointed by the news, but her spirits lift when Nate hints that they could try to make a long-distance relationship work, suggesting that there is still hope for their future together. As the film draws to a close, Andrea finally lands a job as a newspaper reporter, something she had been striving for all along. Surprisingly, it was Miranda who helped her secure the position. Miranda sent a fax to Andrea's prospective employer, stating that although Andrea was her biggest disappointment ever, they would be foolish not to hire her. This unexpected recommendation plays a crucial role in Andrea getting the job. Afterward, Andrea calls Emily and offers her all the high-fashion clothes she received in Paris, explaining that she no longer needs them. Emily gratefully accepts the offer and jokingly tells Andrea's replacement that she has big shoes to fill. In the final scene, Andrea, now dressed with a touch more style than at the beginning of the film but still true to herself, spots Miranda getting into her car across the street. They briefly make eye contact, and while Miranda gives no outward sign of recognition, she allows herself a soft smile once inside the car before returning to her usual commanding demeanor, instructing her chauffeur to go. Thank you so much for watching this video and do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.